Now these are the examples on the second page of the note packet I left for you. The examples we did on the front, we really only had an x squared and we were solving using our square root method. But you may have imaginary or may have the need to use imaginary units if you were solving problems using different methods as well. For example, let's say we wanted to solve this one by completing the square. Well, step one of completing the square is you have to have an a value of 1, so I'm first going to start by dividing everything by 2. And that will get me to x squared plus 4x plus 7 equals 0. Step 2 of completing the square is move c to the other side. And then step 3 is I'm going to add my b divided by 2 squared value to both sides. Well, my b is a 4, and 4 divided by 2 squared gives me 4. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides of this equation. And so what I end up with is a perfect square trinomial on this side, which can be written as x plus 2 squared. But over here, negative 7 plus 4 gives me negative 3. I am now ready to use my square root method on both sides, and what I will end up with is x plus 2 is equal to plus or minus, and again, the square root of negative 3 can be rewritten or can be represented as I times the square root of positive 3. And then my last step would be to subtract 2 from both sides. And so my final answer is x equals negative 2 plus or minus I times the square root of 3, which still, those two terms are not like terms, so that would be your final answer. You may also have i's show up in the answers if you're using the quadratic formula. For example, this problem. If I wanted to do this by the quadratic formula, the first thing I need to do is get one side equal to 0, so I'm going to subtract 5. And my equation becomes negative x squared plus 4x minus 5 equals 0, which means I have an a value of negative 1, a b value of 4, and a c value of negative 5. Using the quadratic formula, I will end up with the opposite of my b value, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2 times my a value. Well, as I start to simplify, I'll have negative 4 plus or minus 4 squared is 16 minus 4 times negative 1 times negative 5 becomes 20. And then n over negative 2. Well, you can see right now that you're going to end up with negative 4 under the square root sign. And the square root of negative 4 can be represented by I times the square root of 4. If we continue to simplify, the square root of 4 actually becomes a 2. We now have negative 4 plus or minus 2i divided by negative 2. And since both of these values will divide by negative 2, our final answer is going to be negative 4 plus or minus negative 1i.